There is literally one single checkbox that decides whether your entire company can log in during a catastrophic data center failure. Let's jump right in. Today, we're taking a really close look at an Azure Entra Connect setting that, honestly, so many admins just get entirely wrong. The stakes here are incredibly high. Whether you're actively studying for the AZ-800 exam or you're managing a real-world network right now, you need to know exactly how to avoid taking your own company offline. Most administrators accidentally pick the wrong authentication option, and the terrifying part, they don't usually find out until the absolute worst possible moment. Okay, so to understand the trap we're trying to avoid here, we first need to look at exactly how your local network connects to Microsoft 365. You might think moving to the cloud means leaving your physical servers behind entirely, right? Well, for most organizations, that's just not the case at all. See, your users and passwords, they live on premises over on the left side, safely inside Active Directory. But your apps, things like Teams, Outlook, SharePoint, they live in the cloud on the right side in Microsoft Entra ID. And naturally, they don't just magically communicate out of the box. So the big question is, how does one single password work seamlessly in both places? Enter Microsoft Entra Connect. This is the crucial bridge that syncs everything together. It runs right there on a server inside your network, and its one and only job is to copy your identities up to the cloud every 30 minutes. You create a new employee on-prem, and boom, 30 minutes later, they're in the cloud, ready to use Microsoft 365. But how this specific tool handles your passwords, that is the exact decision that makes or breaks your entire disaster recovery strategy. Now, Entra Connect actually gives you 3 distinct ways to handle those passwords. It's basically just a single radio button you click during setup, but choosing between these 3 strategic paths has massive ripple effects across your network. You essentially have 3 choices: password hash sync, pass-through authentication, and ADFS. As you weigh them, just notice how the on-prem dependency and the overall complexity change drastically from one option to the next. Let's break these down one by one so you know exactly what's happening under the hood. First up, we've got password hash sync, or PHS. This method securely copies a hash of your user's passwords. Technically, it's an irreversible hash of a hash, straight up to the cloud. With PHS, if your on-prem data center completely burns to the ground, your users can still log into Microsoft 365. Why? Because the cloud already has everything it needs to verify them completely independently of your local servers. Then we have option 2, pass-through authentication, or PTA. The core concept here is that the password literally never leaves your building. When a user tries to log into the cloud passes the request back down to a tiny agent on your network to verify it against Active Directory in real time. PTA sounds absolutely brilliant for strict compliance, but it's actually a massive landmine. If your on-prem server dies, that agent can't answer. And if the agent can't answer, nobody can log into the cloud. You have artificially tied your cloud availability directly to your on-prem availability. And finally, option 3, Federation, which is usually done via ADFS. This is your heavyweight legacy option. You run a complex farm of servers on-prem that handle all the redirects. Sure, it gives you total control, custom rules, third-party integrations, but it is incredibly complex and really expensive to run. If those servers or even just their certificates fail, everything goes down all at once. Modern guidance from Microsoft essentially says, please move away from ADFS unless you absolutely have to use it. Okay, to really see the real-world consequences of these architectural choices, let's look at a Friday night IT nightmare that perfectly illustrates why understanding this stuff matters so much. Picture this: a law firm with 450 people. They set up their hybrid identity, and their consultant confidently selected pass-through authentication. It sounded perfect in the pitch meeting, right? Passwords never leave the building, and the compliance team was totally thrilled. Then, Friday evening rolls around. A weekend power event completely takes out their entire on-premises server room. Normally, you'd think, no big deal on a weekend, especially since all 450 lawyers were comfortably working from home using Microsoft 365 in the cloud anyway. But because they relied on PTA, that dead on-prem agent triggered a total cloud lockout. The cloud literally had no way to ask the on-prem server if the passwords were valid. As a result, not a single person could access Outlook, Teams, or their document system all weekend. A completely isolated on-prem power cut somehow managed to take down their highly available cloud platform. So how do we prevent that? The fix is actually remarkably simple. If they had just chosen password hash sync, option 1, every single one of those lawyers would have logged in seamlessly without even noticing the power was out on-prem. And here is a huge takeaway for your own environments. Even if you are forced to use PTA or ADFS for compliance reasons, you can actually enable password hash sync as a backup fallback. If the on-prem side dies, the cloud just falls back to the synced hashes. You'd be surprised how few people turn this on, but it is highly, highly recommended. All right, now that we've covered the core concepts and the really high disaster recovery stakes, let's lock in some highly practical tips that you are definitely going to see on the AZ-800 exam and honestly just in your day-to-day administration. These next steps are absolutely non-negotiable. Before you even think about turning sync on, step 1 is to run the free IdFix tool. It scans your Active Directory for duplicate usernames or weird characters that are going to break your syncing. And more importantly, step 2, you must fix non-routable domains. If your users have a .local domain suffix, the cloud is going to reject them outright. They need a real routable name like .com. You absolutely have to fix that before you hit enable in step 3. Now, when sync inevitably stops working, and trust me, one day it definitely will, this is your troubleshooting playbook. Your go-to tools are the Sync Service Manager right there on the Entra Connect server and forcing a manual sync using the PowerShell command start-AD sync cycle. If you have a single user that just won't sync up, you need to hunt down duplicate attributes. Usually, it's just 2 objects claiming the exact same email or username, and the cloud will simply refuse both of them until you fix the conflict. So let's bring all of this together. Bridging your identities requires a bulletproof strategy, and password hash sync is the default safe choice for ultimate resilience. It's the simplest to run by far, and it guarantees that your cloud operations will survive an on-prem outage. Which leaves us with this final critical thought for you to ponder. Is your organization still just one power cut away from a massive cloud outage? Seriously, take a hard look at your own Entra Connect settings today, because you absolutely do not want to be the admin discovering you checked the wrong radio button on a Friday night. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this helps you lock down your hybrid identity strategy and absolutely ace those exam questions.